How do we take him off? Up. Here we go. You guys can hear me. You see how beautiful I am behind Nikon Webcam Utility version 1.01. See, it's getting hot in here already. You see the fire behind us? It's getting real hot. You ready?
You want an intro?
Yeah. So I just want to introduce you guys and more importantly, welcome you back to Millionaire Brand Creation. We do this every Wednesday morning now at 11 a.m. It's getting hot. We have a special guest with you today, or with me, I should say, with me today. And we're going to talk about 7 ways to build legacy wealth through real estate. And what better person to talk about this than someone that A, sees a bunch of tax returns from real estate agents, B, has done it themselves, and C, has learned pitfalls along the way, including myself, on his journey in doing that. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to a good friend of mine, RC Thornton. RC, what's up, buddy?
Michael, how are you, man?
Good to see you.
It's great to be here.
Yeah, we're good. So look at beautiful matte black productions. It's barren, but beautiful. Patrick, good morning, my friend. I'm really excited to talk about this, RC, because one of our favorite things to talk about is how do you create legacy wealth? And you've seen a lot of real estate agent tax returns. What are some ways that you're seeing that real estate agents in particular are making money? And what are some ways that they're not doing so well?
Well, it's a great question, Michael. A lot of the real estate agents, and I would say most of the agents I work with in my tax consulting business, they're usually pretty successful on paper. I mean, their GCIs, their commissions are at least 6 figures, if not multi 6 figures, sometimes even mid to higher 6 figures. But it's very uncommon that I run into real estate agents who have actually created net worth and legacy from that money. So they're making money. They have a good income, but they're just working and working and working, and really by the end of the day don't have much to show for it. So I think that real estate agents often they miss that parlay to where they can take the money they earned and turn it into something that grows net worth and value for them in the long term. I've met very few, if any, real estate agents aside from yourself who have figured that one out.
So here's the question. I did a video that I think you shared, by the way, that we collaborated on, is how do you become a millionaire agent, right? Yeah. And I think a lot of agents listening in and entrepreneurs want to know, like, how easy is it to earn your way to being a millionaire, earning $1 million a year? And then how easy is it to become a millionaire through strategic movements and investment? Can you explain that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the earning money thing is the baseline because that gives you the fuel you need. But money just comes and goes very quickly in life. The only people I've ever met and worked with who have built actual net worth, it's always by taking that money and plowing it into things that make more money. Mostly real estate is most of what my wife and I do, and most of where I've seen people be successful. And I think as agents, you guys are uniquely positioned to be able to take advantage of that opportunity to grow your own net worth.
So here's a question. So obviously we could talk about this in theory and everyone's like, yeah, it's easy because you already made your money or whatever. But I think what a lot of people forget to realize is when we first met at 15 years old, we were both broke as an effing joke, basically. And maybe a lot of these agents, no matter their age group, are thinking to themselves, yeah, it's easy to postulate how it is to make money. But how do we break down step by step the failures that we both had in our early careers, and then the steps we started to take to add to the fire, so to speak, no pun intended, and actually make more money? Like, what did you do specifically that you effed up on in the beginning, and then you started getting traction near the end?
Well, I think the best answer I can give to that question, honestly, Mike, is to kind of brag about you a little bit because I remember when you bought your first house, which is some, 3 bedroom place up by like the 51 in Union Hills, if I'm not mistaken. And this was right after we got out of college. So we were like 21, 22, something like that, right? And I mean, we were, good making money, but it's not like we were making a ton of money. So,
We were
you
pretty
were buying,
broke, just so everyone knows.
we were pretty broke. I mean, just to not dance around it, right? But I mean, you found a way to make that work. It was like a $250,000 house, which for us out of college guys was a lot of money at the time. But you just found a way to make it happen. And I think a lot of people, they just make a bunch of reasons in their own mind of why they can't do it, and they just don't even try to do it. That's why they can't even make that first step.
Well, I think the
And then it just
biggest thing.
snowballs.
Oh no, continue.
Yeah, and then you get your confidence for that first property you buy, and you realize like, whoa, I can do this. I can afford it. If I'm worried about I'm not going to be able to make enough money to pay for it, like subconsciously you push yourself harder to make more money to make sure you can cover all your obligations. And the
Mhm.
next thing you know, you're ready to buy house number two, and then you keep going.
Yeah, the biggest step is overcoming the fear of losing your ass. And I think what's
Yeah,
interesting is so many people spend their whole lives trying to make a dollar and they're in the wrong vehicle. And I was talking to
absolutely.
Gaida about this morning. I said, how many people that you know actually earn $1 million a year? And when
Yeah.
you think about that, of the people that actually earn $1 million a year, how many of them are real estate agents? And I'm thinking,
Right.
shit,
Yeah,
two?
it's extremely successful entrepreneurs. If you're in tech, like my younger brother is a software developer, a rapper, a celebrity or something, maybe you can do that. But for us normal people, normal entrepreneurs, like you got to have a different plan in mind.
So here's the question. So obviously, you're seeing the tax returns of these real estate agents, right? This is how you gain legacy wealth. How did you start taking your earned income, which is your commissions in regards to your
Yeah.
business? What did you do with your earned income that helped establish yourself to millionaire status? What can they do to replicate this?
Well, this is how my wife and I got started on it. So, in my own business, I started really doing well around like the end of 2018, 2019. So I was finally making some decent enough money, right? And so the big thing that I made a point to do was to just save as much of that as I could. And then 2020 rolls around, my then fiance, now wife, but then fiance, and her said, we want to buy a place to live together. So basically, Michael, we followed your advice that you always give, which is find a place that's in an A or an A plus or an A minus location.
Hope you guys
That's
are
just,
taking notes because say
yeah,
that again. Say that again. This is important.
yeah. So you said, Michael, you were very blunt with us. You're like, listen, you got to get a place that's in an A plus or an A or an A minus location, like top notch area, but get what you can afford. So if you can only afford like a townhouse or something like that, even if it's not the greatest property in the world, get into that best location because that's what's going to hold its value over the long term and make you the most money.
And just to jump on top of that, because we have listeners in from Texas, from California, from Canada, wherever
Right.
you live, follow the old wealthy people. This is what I'm telling you
That's true.
guys, because
Yeah, I mean, if
money
you if
is
you look
around old
outside of our
people.
neighborhood right now, it's a bunch of retired people walking around. We're the youngest people here by far.
Yeah, your neighbors are all like, near death.
70.
But continue on that thing. So find the best location you can that's a single family detached house and or a townhouse where you own
Right,
the land. And then what do you do?
precisely. And then you find a way to make it work. I mean, what my wife and I did was we went to and I know some of you on this call aren't from Phoenix, but for those of you that are, it was in the Biltmore area, right? That's one of the nicest, most renowned neighborhoods in Phoenix. And we found this townhouse that was for sale for I think around 380, 390. And I was scared shitless. Like I said, I had only started to have some success in my business, and I'm like, oh fuck, like what if I can't afford this? But we just, we worked together, and I have to really credit my wife with helping to set my mindset of like, we just got to make this move. So we got it like right at the beginning of COVID, like March 2020 or April 2020, something like that. And I mean, the value of that thing has just like doubled in the last year and a half.
But go through what you did to add value to that. So the first rule that you learned from me and through doing your due diligence was buy in the best location, the
Yeah.
best place where there's wealth creation and population growth, but in a situation where you can afford. Once you moved
Yeah.
in and got that loan, what was the next step that you took?
The next thing we did was we remodeled that thing, and we knew that that was, well, I won't say we knew. You taught us, and we implemented that the thing to do was to buy a place that needed to. You can make money by fixing it up, and so Michael, you helped us figure out what we needed to do to get it looking good and remodeled on the inside. And I mean, that alone added a tremendous amount of value to our home, and therefore increased the price.
So as real estate agents, this is called a wedge deal. So you buy in the best location that you can afford, right? With old people that make money, and then you buy a wedge deal. What's a wedge deal? A wedge deal is a deal where you can put, let's say, $50,000 into a remodel, which RC and his wife did, and make 100,000 or 2x what you put in on the back end as far as equity in your home. So explain how that worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think all in, my numbers are a little rusty, but I think we put in, around 40, maybe around $50,000 to get the house, and then another 50 to remodel it, and the
100
values
grand,
increased by
100 grand.
100K in to have a $300,000 increase in value, give or take. And
So
I
you
mean, I remember
3x your $100,000 investment in 2 years.
Yeah, and I remember Michael's been talking about stuff like that for as long as I can remember, and I always agreed with him, but it always in the back of my mind was kind of like, that's nice for Michael's done that, but can I do it too? But then I just followed exactly what you said, and I got the same result you've been getting.
And then what
So
did
it
you do
can definitely
next?
work for your agents here. Yeah.
What did you do next?
So after that, I mean, fast forward a year, we have this townhouse. Our business is starting to do better. My wife and I thought we want to get something bigger, so we decided we're going to follow that exact same system. And we found another house in the Billmore. This one, is a 4-bedroom one. It's where I am now, and we just did the exact same thing. Lots of remodel potential, A+ location. It just got in.
But how are you able to buy another house when you already owned another house?
Well, the way that we were able to do it is we basically, made the argument to the bank that we said, hey, this other property, we're going to rent this guy out. Like it's, remodeled. It's a beautiful property. Someone's going to want to live here. And they said, yeah, sure, no problem. You have like 3 or 4 months to get that thing rented out after we give you the new mortgage for your new house. And it wasn't a problem.
So let's backtrack. Let's do the easy numbers so everyone understands. You buy it for
Right.
350, right?
380, we bought it.
380. And of that, you put about $100,000
Exactly.
into it. 50,000 of that was remodel, right?
Right.
So your cost basis is 430, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
430. How much is that house worth today? 2 years later.
About 620.
620. So basically you turned 80 grand. Hope everyone's following me. You multiplied it by 3 and you turned that 80 grand in 2 years to 240,000.
Exactly.
Now talk about the numbers in your current home that you just bought about what, 5-6 months ago?
Yeah, we got that in June of last year. So we're coming up on a year now. So this one we got it for a little under $1 million, which, is a pretty, especially in the weird market here in Phoenix, was a really, really good deal. So we put $200,000 down, so 20%, right? You don't, in my opinion, and Michael, you taught this too, like you don't want to put less than that down to avoid PMI, especially on a larger mortgage.
On a jumbo, you want to put 20% down. On a conventional, you want to put 10. So if you guys have that,
right,
just for you to continue.
Yeah, and so we got this place for basically right at $1 million, a little bit less. And ever since that point, like there hasn't been a single house in this community that sold for less than like 1.2. I mean, there's houses right down the road that are selling for like 2.6 right now.
So you bought this house for $1 million a year ago. You
Right.
put $200,000 down. Conservatively, what is that house worth today?
1.2 conservatively, I'd say.
So basically, in a year's time, you doubled that money.
Exactly. And there's a lot of value add. I mean, we've done no remodeling yet, but once we get around to doing that, I'm sure the value will increase substantially from 1.2.
So here's a real life example, and I know Ann's on the call. Hey, Ann, hope you're doing well.
Hey, Ann.
This is a real life example of someone who is not in the real estate business. You guys are in the real estate business and who has implemented this in the last 3 years. Now, basically, if my math is correct, you basically turned $280,000 of cash into equivalent of about $750,000 in net worth. Does that sound about right?
Pretty much, yeah.
So on paper, just from those two properties alone, and you and your wife own 3 properties, you are millionaires on paper in the last 3 years by implementing this tactic, correct?
Exactly.
Now
And I
here,
mean, you know, like
yeah, continue.
what I was going to say, and I mean, during that time, my earned income has increased a lot too. But that, if all I was doing was playing the earned income game and then save some cash, I would be $500,000 less wealthy, if you want to say that, than I am right now.
And you can't save your way to millionaire status. I mean, I was
No.
reading I was reading an article the other day. It takes 5 times as long to save your way to a millionaire status as a person earning $100,000 a year because of the 7 principles that we'll talk about today, right? Because you know this, you work for the man, you work for the IRS, or work with them, I should say. Why is it difficult from a strict earning perspective to become a millionaire when the
Well, I would,
IRS comes and takes your
yeah,
dough?
I mean, as far as taxes goes, self-employment, you know, you're all real estate agents, right? So you're self-employed. Self-employment tax is the highest tax. People that are self-employed pay the most taxes, period. Not only are you paying income tax, there's social security tax, self-employment tax, all this stuff. So even if you're making, you know, $150,000 a year net, I mean, you're throwing 35% of that immediately down the toilet in taxes to the IRS. And let's not forget the state, if you live in a state that has taxes. So not only are you just,
California.
yeah, California. I mean, I think you said there's someone here from Texas. That's good. They don't have state income tax there, but I mean, that money is just disappearing. But you know, with rentals, I just finished up our own personal tax return for our rental properties. On paper, we lost money from our rentals, even though we actually made money due to the tax favored treatment that you get on rental property.
So you talked about the system. I want to go through the 7 ways that real estate can create legacy wealth. And I want you to analyze this from someone that
Yeah.
sees tax returns. And if everyone has their notebooks out, this is the time to start writing things down if you haven't already, because RC's dropped a lot of jewels. The first thing is, and I want to hear what you think about this, why real estate creates legacy wealth, is it gives a levered option for investing that is safe. What does
Right.
that mean to you?
I think that if you pick even a half decent property in a half decent area, forget about an A area, but even a B area, people are always going to need a place to live, right? Over the long term, I don't really see how someone could go wrong owning real estate that's even half decent. So if you have that asset that other people are building equity in that asset for you by paying your mortgage in the form of rent, you have something that in theory you could use to lever and borrow to acquire even more real estate.
And I think
Versus
it's
things like
really,
stocks. I mean, maybe stocks you can get like a margin loan or whatnot. I mean, that's all out of my area of expertise. But to me, real estate, it just makes logical sense. People need a place to live. You have an asset that people are always going to need, and you can borrow against that if you need to.
I was talking to a guy who's worth $60 million yesterday, and he said something really interesting. He doesn't even invest in the stock market. He has $95 million in first positions in residential loans. And this
Nice.
is what he said. He says, when you go into a bank and you say, hey, I work with EXP, can you give me a loan to buy $1 million worth of EXP stock? What would they say?
Hell no.
Pound sand, buddy, you're an idiot. But if you went in and you said, hey, I want to buy $1 million house and I want to live in it, but my intention in a year is to rent it, what will they say to you?
So absolutely. Let's go.
And why is that?
I think it's just considered less risky, and it's part of the American culture of
Correct.
homeownership. Yep.
Correct. And that's the key to the game, right? How do you get to millionaire status for sure, as opposed to taking a risk and risk losing it all? And as we can see in the markets today, there's a lot of stock market turmoil, right? 20-30% rescission in prices across the board.
Yep.
But what is your residential real estate done? Maybe gone down 2%, 5%, 8%.
Right.
Right? It's a long-term hold. And the reason being is because it's very costly to acquire properties and it's costly to sell them because there's also tax ramifications when you sell. So if you
Right.
follow what RC follows, and he learned that from me, and I learned that from far wealthier people, is like Warren Buffett says, when you buy a stock or you buy a piece of real estate, your intent should be to own it forever. And if you're
100%.
okay to have that intent to own it forever, you will always, always make money if you buy in the right location, you buy in a population growth area, and you have strong long-term debt on that property. Doesn't matter if it's residential, multifamily, industrial, commercial, it doesn't matter. So number one,
Absolutely.
leverage offers an option for investing in real estate. That's why it's one of the best legacy strongholds for you and your net worth and your family. Number
Hmm.
two, let's see what you think about this one, RC. As Patrick said, there is only so much real estate available in the market. Investing in either land or property should be a prerogative for you and your clients, being real estate agents, because you're realizing there's huge population growth. In Sunbelt areas, there's huge demand that won't go out anywhere in Texas, in Arizona, in Florida. Hundreds of people are moving to these states every single day. And if you live in a place where there's snow on the ground, get your ass out of there and start putting your money in the sun, because that's where you're going to make the
Right.
most money. I mean, I'm just telling you,
Hmm.
it's just the truth. So what do you think of the concept, which is number two, those people taking notes? There's only so much real estate available in the market. What does that mean to you?
Well, it means that, I mean, even in a place like Phoenix, where it's all a lot of flat land, it's going to run out eventually. And people keep wanting to live here. But what I've also realized about Phoenix, and for our viewers who maybe live in other big metro areas too, even if in theory it can continue to grow outwards, the prime locations will only become more prime because there's all these other extraneous locations that are far away from everything else. So, I mean, there's only, especially in a good area, there's only so many good areas. And if you own that good area, people are always going to want to live here, but the population is going to grow and it's going to become more scarce relative to the number of people who want to live there.
You know, it's interesting too. It doesn't matter where you live. I don't care if you live in San Jose, Houston, Louisiana, Alabama. It's irrelevant. You really want to spend your time and buy assets in the areas where the wealthy reside. I will say that
Yeah.
again. You want to spend time and put your money in real estate where the wealthy reside. What does that mean to you, RC?
Well, I mean, I've heard horror stories of people that have done rentals with, kind of marginal areas, and I hear just these stupid stuff that they have to put up with, like, oh, they like clogged the toilet and it flooded the upstairs of the house, and it's like, no wealthy person is going to do something like that, right? The renters we have and have had in our townhouse in the Biltmore are great. I mean, they pay in full, they pay on time. We had one renter pay 18 months in advance up front.
Good
You're not
negotiation.
going to, yeah. And thanks to Mike. I mean, you're the one who masterminded that for us. But, you're not, that's the opportunity you avail yourself to with working with wealthy people. If you're working with marginal people, you're not going to get that and you're going to have a big headache.
So, recap number one, if you're taking your notes, number one, leverage offers an easy option for investing in real estate. That's one of the asset classes that any bank anywhere in the United States is happy to give you money for. Why? Because it's a safe placement of capital. And they know over time, if history is a provider, it will always go up in population growth areas. Number
Yeah.
two, there is only so much real estate available in the market in these high demand areas. So wherever you live in the United States, buy where the wealthy are buying and buy the least expensive thing that you can afford in the best possible location where you actually own the land, live in it, rent it, do it over and over and over and over again. The third thing, which I know you know a lot about, is real estate has attractive tax benefits.
For sure.
Why is it so taxually beneficial to invest in rental real estate? Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, so there's two reasons. One of them, as I mentioned, is I mentioned for our real estate agents here, your self-employment income is your highest tax rate. Rental income is one of the lower tax rates. Just the numbers work out that even if you made $10,000 net rent, $10,000 real estate agent income, you're going to pay less tax by a lot on that net rent. So that's one of the biggest advantages, right? And why the government decided that people who are working for a living should be taxed more, I don't know, but that's just the way it works for whatever reason in our system. The second thing is you can write off a lot of things with real estate too. You write off your property over 27 and a half years if you're renting it out. You can write off your mortgage interest. You can write off, things you do to improve it or appliances, etc. And just the mathematics of, for ourselves, like I mentioned, and other clients I've done taxes for who have rentals, they never really seem to have that much in reportable profit from a tax perspective by the end of the year on those properties because they take advantage of all those write-offs on the back end.
So how many real estate agent tax returns do you think you have seen in the course of your career to this point?
At least several hundred, if not more
Okay,
than that.
several hundred. Now, obviously, this is not stage. I didn't tell you exactly, what to say or whatever, but
No,
I
no,
want to
not at
know
all.
this on the fly, the truth.
Yep.
Of those 700 people that you have seen that have the most income, are those that own rental real estate, whether it be multifamily or houses, have a higher net worth, and why?
I would say absolutely, but it's interesting. Even with most of the agents I see that do have high incomes, most of them are doing this. I remember one guy. I'm trying to think. Like the biggest one I think I had an agent who was making like $500,000 a year, and I think he owned like two rental properties so he wasn't even really doing it. But that did increase his net worth, but he still wasn't really extrapolating this to the degree that he should. He could have had like 5 or 10 at his income level and his age by that point.
And I mean, you've done this the last 3 years and you've accumulated $1.6 million in real estate.
Exactly.
What's your goal in the next 5 years? How many more properties do you want to acquire?
I don't know if I have an exact number, but we definitely want to acquire as many as we possibly can. I am a firm, true believer that this is the way to secure everything for the future. And I mean, I'm just not going to stop until I guess I keel over and die someday.
So just to recap. So number one, leverage offers an easy option for investing in real estate. Number two, there's only so much land out there in the prime areas wherever you guys live. Number three, as RC can attest to because he sees the tax returns, it is one of the most attractive asset classes for tax benefits, correct?
Absolutely.
And number four, real estate offers a means where you can create additional cash flow. Can you
Yeah.
describe your rental property that you bought for $350 and tell the viewership some of the numbers of cash flow that you make on a monthly basis?
Yeah, absolutely. So our fixed costs for that property, so mortgage, other thing, HOA is maybe around like $2,100 a month. And I think our rent for that is at $3,500 a month right now. And that's just pure cash flow. Uh,
So what is that,
and by
about
the way, that was all paid
1,400
up
or
front.
$1,300 a month gain?
Exactly. And
Now
from a
here's an
tax perspective,
do you
yeah,
have a
go ahead, Mike.
calculator?
I can pull this up
Yeah,
here.
here's something that'll blow people's minds watching this, right? So you put in total, how much did you put in of your own cash in total? Like 90 grand, 80
Around
grand,
that, yeah.
80 grand. Okay,
For
take
the courts too, for the
yeah.
townhouse, you're probably around a 90, I would say.
Okay, so take 1,300, multiply it by
Mm-hmm.
12.
Mm-hmm.
What's that number?
15.6.
Divide 15.6 by $80,000. What do you get?
19.5%.
19.5% return on your cash on cash. Now, you tell me what safer investment on the planet there is to earn 19.5% on your money on a yearly basis. And what's going to happen next year when your tenant moves out? You're going to raise the
Do it all
rents?
over again. You better believe it.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you really realize these numbers. They're like, oh, 1,300 isn't that much a month. But when you extrapolate it on putting 80 grand in and getting a 19.5% return on your money at the end, and how much of that are you paying in taxes? A couple grand?
Exactly, if even that.
It's the holy grail of
It's a
money
no-brainer.
multiplication. I
Yep.
mean, to me, it's the holy grail of money multiplication. Why people aren't buying either multifamily or personal homes every 2 to 3 years is mind boggling. I mean, I'll tell you guys
Yeah.
an interesting statistic, right? In my life, and you know this, you probably know, RC, that I've owned, I think, 5 to 6 houses in my life, right? We sold the condo a couple days ago or a couple months ago. And with this new house that I'm building, I think that puts me at 5, if I'm not mistaken, right? And you know, every 2 to 3 years, I bought a house since
Hmm.
22 years old, right?
Yep.
Do you know how much money I put in to acquire all of that real estate in the form of down payments, including the house I'm buying?
No.
$600,000. Okay, 600,000 over the course of 10 years. Do you know what those assets will be worth in 2 years when I finish my house? $5.8 million. So you take 600,000 of money in 10 years turn that into 5.8 million. What safer way to put capital in and get money out on the back end is there for legacy wealth than real estate? You can't do that in the stock market. You can't
Yeah.
earn your way to, $1 million a year selling houses. We did the math. I think if you were a single agent selling $60 million a year, or you're with EXP and you have a very large rev share line that requires you to work it, to help them, to make sure that they're successful. How can, I mean, anyone in the world can do this. Why do you think they're not, RC?
I think it's just a lot of the way people talk to themselves. Like everyone, I mean, buying a house is a pain in the ass.
Right?
And you have to kind of like confront your inner demons of you, like a scarcity mindset. Like if you're afraid to, you have all this money you've saved, you're afraid to part with it. What if something happens, right? We're all worried about that. So I think people just trip over their own feet. I mean, and myself included, because it took me a long
Me
time
too.
to even buy my,
Yeah.
yeah. But you just got to pass through that. And once you pass through the fear, you realize it's no big deal. And then you kind of get excited about doing the next one. But then those fears kind of come back again. So every time you got to talk yourself through that. But you always look back when you buy it and you're like, Christ, I mean, what a great idea. I mean, even after we bought this house, I was scared shitless for like a couple months. I'm like, oh my God, what if my business, goes in the tank and I can't afford to pay for this place anymore? But it's been great. I mean, we've made the money, we've enjoyed living here, and now we're getting ready for house number 3.
Well, house number 4, you didn't even tell them you guys own another house.
But my,
But
my wife does. Yeah, she owns one.
yeah,
But so 4 for the both of us. Yeah.
yeah. So 4, which we talked about, is the cash flow aspect. RC is a testament to that. I'm a testament to that. And I can teach anyone on this call, if you guys are EXP agents or you're not an EXP agent and you want to join one of the people on this call, this team, I can teach anyone that implements this that in 8 years, you can be worth $2 million or more and have a residual income on the 9th year and every year after that for the rest of your life, $100,000 or more. And it's simply implementing exactly what RC implemented. I mean,
Yeah.
and think about this, RC. In the last 3 years, you became a millionaire on paper. What do you think is the most you ever made in a year in earned income? Honestly, 170, 180 grand, 200 grand up to this
Maybe
point.
like 220, 230.
Now
But I
that's a
mean, even
lot
if
of
some,
money. That's a lot
yeah.
of money, but it's not that much money.
Right. And then the other thing with just making money too is like we have lifestyle creep, right? Like we make more money, we spend more money, get the nice suits, the nice cars,
Nice watches.
so yeah, you have the nice Rolexes. I'll be getting my new one here soon too, I'm sure. But it just like gets pissed away without you really even knowing it when you're making money. But if you kind of have like automatic savings where you're pulling enough money off to the side and stashing for that next down payment, that's the thing that's going to move the needle in your life.
And what's interesting is those real estate agents, when you become the epitome with what your clients want in their lives, now you become an authority in their minds and they will continue to use you for the rest of your life. Now,
100%.
RC, let's be honest. I mean, you've been around a lot of real estate agents. You've talked to real estate agents in Arizona and beyond in groups of 50, 100, 150. Why, just away from friendship, would you choose me to be your real estate agent over other real estate agents?
Easy, because there's a very clear definition of what you do that no one else talks about. I mean, everything you've talked about here today, I've never heard any other real estate agent on the planet talk about. Every other real estate agent I've ever talked to, I mean, they're all really great people and, have had some success perhaps, but it's all just like, oh, I'll help you buy a house, I'll help you sell a house. Do you want to sell your house? I'm like, no. But when you say, hey, do you want to figure out how to make money and have a cool place to live and become a millionaire or a multimillionaire on paper? I'm like, hell yeah, that's exactly what I want to do.
So if real estate agents are listening in, what is it that they can do today to start becoming that authority in the minds of their clients and start attracting more business and maybe start buying their own real estate?
Yeah. I mean, I think for agents, like I'm no agent marketing guru, but I really think most agents that I run into, they have no purpose or no niche behind what they're doing. They literally just say, I'll help you buy and sell a house. It's vague. I mean, what are there like 900,000 real estate agents in the United States, something like that? I mean, you're
More.
going up
Yeah.
against everyone else is saying the same thing. You have to be an authority at bringing a very specific group of people a specific result. Like for you, Mike, if someone came to you and they're like, I want to buy a house in Avondale, you could confidently say, like, I'm not your guy because that's not what I do, right? So everyone else is like, I don't care about what you're doing, but the right people are like, yes, that's exactly what I want. And it reduces that sales resistance to almost zero.
And Jim Rohn had a really good quote that I was listening to the other day that I'm sure you've listened to Jim Rohn and a lot of people on the call have. He passed away, I think, 15 years ago, but he said, you got to look at your mind and your pocketbook as a garden, right? And think of it as a chalice of overflowing wine where you are going to have this lavish feast that you're continually bringing plates to and creating more value for yourself, your family, and your loved ones, right? You're bringing a feast to
Right.
the table. But here's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. One negative thought, one negative thing, one negative person telling you it's impossible, or one negative thing in general is like strychnine poison into that wine
For
that
sure.
totally deflates your ability to create your dreams.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many people don't look at themselves as authorities in the marketplace and don't become what it is that they want in their lives?
Because I think most agents and business people in general, they learn from the wrong people. Like you can't, if you're learning from people who have gotten average results, you're going to learn how to be average. Like in my
Mm.
accounting business, I mean, I've implemented the exact same thing that I just told agents they should do. We focus specifically on successful entrepreneurs, and that's our entire market. We don't deal with anyone else. But I had to come up with that on my own, and from being with other extremely successful marketers and accounting firm owners, that's where I got these ideas from. If I just did what every other accountant was doing, I'd be making like a third of what I am, living a miserable life, because that I would have just followed the trail. You have to use that unconventional wisdom to get unconventional results. And for yourself, Michael, I think you figured that out early on. It took me a little bit longer, but by the end of the day, I wound up at that same location. You just got to believe in yourself. And the more, you start to believe that about who you are, the more, you start to get those kind of clients for yourself and your business. And that just increases your confidence.
It's a flywheel effect. And I know we talk about
Yeah.
that in the dating world. The relationship world is not much different than the net worth world or your business acumen. And the
Yeah.
biggest things, when you look at the highest, most highly paid people on planet Earth, they are leveraging people and they're leveraging their assets. They're never leveraging their time, right? And it's very interesting to me, and why more people don't invest in legacy wealth in their real estate is, number one, if you buy a piece of real estate, if you can, never sell it. Keep it in
Never.
perpetuity. I mean, I was
Wait,
telling
Mike, we
agents,
had dinner. We had dinner
yeah, yeah.
last or a couple nights ago. How what did you say it is? How often most people sell their house? If they buy like every 5 years or
Every 5 years on average in the United States, someone sells
yikes?
their primary residence.
Bad idea.
And what's interesting is most people don't understand how many expenses are in the process of acquiring and selling property, right? If it's your primary residence and you're unmarried, you earn $250,000. If you're married, you have a $500,000 tax exemption, but you're just basically stealing from Peter to pay Paul to pay back Peter, and you're in the same place. You still own one residence. Well, let
Exactly.
me let me tell you exactly how the wealthiest people create money in real estate investment, right? Residential, multifamily, it's the exact same thing. I studied Grant. I've studied the last 12 years in detail about how he made money, and it's a real simple principle. Number one, he buys in A plus locations in population growth areas. Doesn't matter if it's a house, doesn't matter if it's an apartment, right? And if you're a single investor, buy a house. There's nothing wrong with buying a townhouse or a single family house. The second thing that he does is he creates value through forced appreciation. What is forced appreciation? It's exactly what you did, RC. Fixes it up a little bit, raises the rents, and because the rents are raised, that property is now worth more money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Third thing he does is he puts a renter in there, right? So now you have a cash flow source. That cash flow source now, which is a long-term tenant, you don't see Grant out there doing, I'm a VRBO, Airbnb, woo, woo, woo. No, it's I have a lease in place for 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. Here's the lease. Let me show it to you, banker. Now that this property is worth more money, what can you do? Cash out, refinance, okay? And it's the BRRRR method. A lot of people have heard of the BRRRR method, but basically, in a nutshell, is exactly what this is. Once that property is earning more money and you're getting a higher cash flow, now what you're doing, instead of selling the property, which so many morons do on this planet, and I'm guilty of it, because I've thought about it 10 times out of 10, like, oh, maybe I should sell it, pull the money out, pay the government, and then just go to the next step. Dumb. And you can be attest to this. What if instead I had a non-taxable event, all that money I just made because of an appreciation and forced appreciation, I pull out, and instead of blowing that on TVs and bottle service and cars, I take that money and put it in another down payment in a piece of real estate that I can do the same thing in. And they keep doing it over and over and over and over. That's all Grant did for 10 years. And he turned $12 million of personal net worth into $1.05 billion because of the numbers that he added by buying multifamily and apartments. Now, if you even did it at the single family level, right, like you and I are doing it, I guarantee you, if you stuck to this plan, RC, in 20 years, right, that puts you at 53 years old, how much certainty do you think you would be that you would have a personal net worth of $10 million or more?
Absolutely.
It's almost
no doubt
a guarantee,
in my mind.
right? It's almost a guarantee. And you're thinking to yourself, well, hell, how do I earn my way to 10 million? Let me save you this expense.
It's pretty tough.
Unless you're a celebrity, a ball player, a rapper, you know, it's pretty damn difficult because the IRS is pulling 40 here, 20 here, 15 here. Oh, sold your house. Let me pull another 15 from you. You know, you're screwed. But if you
exactly
have
right.
this system in place where there's really no taxable event, because all you're doing is you're taking forced appreciation that you created, you're taking money that was really unrealized and moving it to acquiring more and more and more and more and more and more. And the beauty of it is, once you have all these cash flowing entities, the properties that you bought in the beginning, you start to pay off and you start owning them free and clear. And once you own a property free and clear and you don't have that mortgage burden, the cash flow really starts to take off. So here's the next thing. Now we're on to 5, right? Real estate has gains through its appreciation potential. What does appreciation mean to you when it comes to real estate investment?
Just the overall value going up. And I think that's the other half of the equation as to why it's so attractive. It's, you're making quote unquote money on its long-term appreciation.
And what's interesting, and you may know this statistic or not, but in these areas that we're talking about, Texas, California, certain parts of California, like San Diego, Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, where it's beautiful weather, right? Follow the weather, guys. Follow the weather.
Yeah.
If it's sunny, you're going to get rich. If it's cold and windy and snowing, you're going to lose your ass. I'm just telling you because I've done the statistics of population growth movement, right? And so when you have these sun belts of desirability where people want to live, there's always going to be value there. I mean, everyone's like, oh, California is falling in the gutter. Well, it could be, but you're telling me in 20 years' time, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, Malibu, Laguna Beach, Newport Beach, San Diego, La Jolla, Carlsbad are going to lose value? I don't think so. Because so many people want to live there. I mean, you're telling me Phoenix, Paradise Valley, Scottsdale are going to go down in value? I don't think so, because so many people want to live there. That's not going to change, right? But if you're talking North Dakota, you're talking Minnesota, you're talking
Yeah.
areas where it's like 20
It's a
degrees below
crapshoot.
zero,
Yeah,
you're just rolling dice. I mean, you really think that you're going to create generational wealth? You're not. You got to follow the Sun Belt states. I mean, do you
for
agree with
sure.
that?
No, I do actually. And one thing that is interesting, kind of as a side note, I have a lot of clients, real estate agent clients from all over the country. And so sometimes I get clients from like New York and New Jersey, and I get curious. I'm like, I wonder what real estate's selling for there, especially in this market. I go and I look, and the housing prices are like nothing. Like I have a client in Ithaca, in New York. I went and I looked up there. It's like $200,000, $300,000. I mean, I guess it's great if you're just living there to live there, but I question that those properties would really ever appreciate that much compared to Phoenix or California.
Or Texas or
Yeah,
Florida or any other Sun Belt states that has huge population growth.
for
Number
sure.
6, and this is something we're in right now. How many calls have you gotten from real estate agents or business entrepreneurs going, "Oh shit, oh my God, I'm going to lose all my money because prices are going to go down because we're in a recession."
Oh,
Right.
all the time, all the time.
Now, here's the thing that people don't understand. This is number 6. Real estate is practically inflation proof. Now, what does that mean to you? Well, inflation is attributed to an increase in the price of available goods and services over a period of time. And with an increase in the price level, each unit of currency can purchase fewer units of goods and services at the value as cash drops, right? So the value of real estate that has been owned for centuries is not devalued due to inflation, simply because it is a primary human requirement and its value surges alongside inflation and scarcity. What does that mean to you?
Exactly. I mean, people will always need a place to live, no matter what. And because of that, that's going to be one of those basic things people are going to be willing to pay for, and it will follow the other trends. I mean, inflation is measured in large part by the price of housing when they do the calculation of the basket of goods. So therefore, it should always, if you have a good property anyway, should always at least hedge against inflation over the long term.
And what's interesting is everyone says, "Oh God, what if '08 happens again? What if?" Well, if
No
'08
problem.
happens again and you're cash flowing, who the F cares? Because you're
That's the way I
smooth
see it.
sailing. Yeah, tell me about
Yeah,
that.
even with our properties, like if they fell 40% tomorrow, I mean, maybe I'd feel a little, my ego would take a bruise, but I would just say, great, this is a chance to go buy an even another house. If you're playing the it's like the stock market, I guess, with real estate. You have to play the long, consistent game and not worry about what the price of real estate is today. You got to just keep going, no matter what's happening in the macroeconomic level.
Because regardless, there are two certainties, right? Death and taxes. You know that
Right.
because you're a tax guy. But the other certainty, when you look at history since the beginning of time, right, since the beginning of the United States, 1776, you look at property values in population growth areas, right? It's the same metric up and to the right. There's,
Yep.
18 months, 2 years of big recessions, and those rescissions skyrocket back up, similar to the S&P 500. But here's the difference. One is levered 5 to 10 times what you put in. The other is face value, dollar for dollar, what you put in. Now,
Yeah.
you tell me there is no other safe haven in the United States where you can leverage your money 5 to 10 times safely and it go up and to the right in perpetuity. Do you know of any?
Right. Not that I'm aware of.
And here's the second thing most people don't realize, right? Thank you for the like. Appreciate whoever did that. And you guys type in the comment section because this is
If you have
interesting
any
to me.
questions,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the second thing most people don't realize, in these Sun Belt states where there's population growth, and there will continue to be, because the weather is not going to change in Southern California, in Arizona, in certain parts of Texas, in Florida. You know what I mean? It's going to stay consistent for as long as we're alive, hopefully. But the dynamics become rents in those population growth areas double every 10 years on average.
Hmm.
Double. Do you know how long on a average basis, not including the last 2 years, that it takes for homes to double in value?
Mm-mm.
Usually 6 to 9 years. So if you're doubling rents every 10 years and you're doubling in value every 7 to 9 years, and you're paying less in taxes, I mean, to me, that's like the triple threat of a no-brainer of where am I going to put my money? That's where it's going
Exactly.
to go. And it's funny because the stock market is interesting. I'm sure you look at people's returns and they're paying all these, active traders and all this other crap. They don't realize A, how much they're taxed, and B, you correct me if I'm wrong, I think the best place to buy stocks is in your tax deferred retirement accounts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, you definitely want to be plowing money. I would say this would be the second thing, and I would also say the
Yeah.
second thing I do, in fact, do after the real estate is just plow money into a retirement account, and then just buy the S&P, buy a bunch of just that kind of stuff, and just hold on to it.
So basically, the surefire way to becoming a millionaire on paper, you're one, I'm one. How did you do it? You bought a shitload of real estate, and number two, you consistently invested in the S&P 500. Did I get that right?
Exactly right.
And thirdly, you consistently made it a point to hang around more affluent people to increase your earned income to do the prior two things, correct?
Exactly
And you
right.
just kept doing it over and over and over and over again, and you're going to keep doing it in perpetuity.
Never going to stop.
Yeah. And that's what I hope for you guys. If you're not there and you're not at that level, take it from two broke 15-year-olds that met each other on a high school football field. We're no geniuses. I mean, RC is Mensa in my mind, but in reality, we're not that smart.
We're not that bright. We
We're
just
not
copy
that
other people
brilliant.
and do
We're
it
brilliant
worse.
enough to know what we don't know and look at history as to what can do the work for us. The hard workers do not survive. The smart ones do. And that's
sure.
what I always say. You ever heard the saying, the pen is mightier than the sword? Why is that? Because the person that thinks, the person that's consistent and implements the same thing over and over and over again is the person that wins in the promised land. And last
Absolutely.
but not least, number 7, debt is reduced in real terms over time. So a real estate mortgage allows debt to significantly reduce over the long term, since fixed debt does not accommodate for inflationary forces. So
Right.
even when the property price increases, the debt amount stays the same, which becomes a major gain for you and your clients, if you're representing your clients, when they invest in property in the long term. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, your debt will always go down, but even your monthly payment you're paying on that mortgage will become relatively inexpensive because of inflation. So, you're going to, as time goes on, it will just become less and less of a burden, and you'll reduce your actual debt over time.
So we got 4 minutes left. Does anyone have any questions for RC or for myself? And while we wait, I'm going to rehash those 7 ways to create legacy wealth using real estate. So if you guys have your notebooks, please write these down. Number 1, leverage offers an easy option for investing in real estate. There's no other asset class that's easier to borrow money from banks in the United States than real estate. So that's number 1. Number 2, there is only so much real estate available in your marketplace where the old, rich, and willing are wanting to buy real estate consistently over the next 20, 30, 40 years. Number 3, how attractive, RC, are tax benefits when it comes to real estate investing?
Extremely. Put
Probably,
simply.
and you've seen tax returns, probably in our US tax code, the most advantageous asset class. Would you agree?
Of all the ones I've seen, absolutely.
Number 4, real estate offers a means to create additional cash flow. How much cash extra on top of your earned income do you think your rental properties create for you and your wife every year, RC?
Well, the one we have in the Biltmore, at least $1,200. The
Chandler?
one that she has, I'm not sure, maybe another 1,000 or so. So
So,
another $2,300 a month.
so basically another $30,000 a year that you guys make just getting out of bed and making coffee every single year. How many of you
Exactly.
guys could really use an extra $30,000 a year that you're paying not a lot of taxes on? I could. Number 5, real estate gains through its appreciation potential. How much have you and your wife made in your 3 properties, or just the 2 that you're a part of, in the form of appreciation in the last 2 to 3 years?
Four or $500,000.
4 or 500,000 in 2 years. Now, how
Yep.
hard would you have to work to make 4 or 500,000 after taxes? 3 more
Oh,
years?
goodness. I'd be
That's a
pretty worn
long
out trying
ass
to do that.
time, man, that I don't want to
Yep.
work, right? Number 6, real estate is practically inflation proof. What does that mean to you?
Yeah. I mean, it's just people are always going to need a place to live. It's going to mirror the cost of the overall goods in the economy.
And here's an example. My grandparents in 1957 bought a house in Saratoga, California for $8,900. That
Wow.
same house they sold when they retired was for 1.95 million. They thought they
Wow.
were rich, and they were rich because of that sale. Do you know what that same house is worth today? $3.98 million. So that
That's incredible.
8,900 in 1957 in today's value, the exact same shithole house is worth almost $4 million just off that one
Wow.
investment. If that doesn't tell you about inflation, I don't know what does. And last but not least, debt is reduced in real terms over time. What does that mean to you, RC?
Well, you have someone else paying off your debt.
Yeah. So,
So you don't have to worry
Patrick,
about it.
Ann, David, anyone on the call that wants to ask RC or myself a question, please type it in the comment section and let's address it now or forever hold your peace. I mean, thanks for coming on, RC.
Well, thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah, guys, ask RC a question. I mean, this guy is charging $15,000 plus for tax advice. And if you have a quick question or a question about
Now's the
how
time to
he,
ask.
yeah, about how he made money in real estate, you're not a real estate agent, are you?
No, not at all.
How did you learn about real estate?
All from you.
And you
Pretty
did your
much
own due
everything I know.
diligence. But in 3
Yeah.
years' time, by implementing this one thing, how much money did this help change as far as the trajectory of the life of you and your wife, as far as net worth?
Yeah. I mean, the exact net worth, I mean, definitely over between all the properties we have, definitely over $1 million.
A
But
million
it,
dollars in 3 years.
yeah.
And,
And we just
and
want to
that,
keep repeating this system.
yeah. And so, you guys, I'm telling you, you're not going to earn your way to a millionaire agent unless you're an unbelievable agent that I want to know. And you can tell me some that I don't know about selling houses. But I guarantee you, if you follow what RC did or you follow what I did, you're going to become a millionaire. Okay, David Marsh has a question. Are there specific tax benefits for real estate investors with an S corporation?
I think it depends upon what type of real estate investing you're doing. Honestly, I haven't worked with too many clients who have done real estate investing through S corporations, and that can get pretty technical. But I would say, in general, with any type of business, being set up as an S corporation is something that will benefit you in the long run, especially if you have earned income through it, like from a trade or from a business.
David Marsh says, in regards to rentals.
Oh, in regards to rentals, no, I there probably would be really no tax benefit at all to having it in an S corporation. If you're
Yeah.
just like holding property and renting it out like as a single
Now,
family.
you put yours on your Schedule C, right? In your own name?
Schedule E, yeah.
Oh, Schedule E. Okay, okay. And
Hmm.
you're depreciating your rentals, correct? So
Exactly.
if you ever go to resell them, you're going to have recapture.
If I ever were to sell them,
That's the
which I
key,
won't.
guys. Don't
Yep.
resell the properties. Keep them in
Yep.
perpetuity. And I think I told you this at dinner the other day. If you can create legacy wealth for you and your family, I have one way to do that. Do exactly what RC is doing for the next 10 to 15 years. Guaranteed you will become a millionaire. We'll get to Patrick's question next. And lastly, set up an irrevocable trust for your children to where they can't sell the real estate that you required. They can live off the income that your real estate spits out, and or both. They can add to the legacy that you've created for your family. So Patrick has a question, might be more of a lender question, but are you able to qualify rent roll as income? I know the answer to that, but I want to hear what you say, RC.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you have a signed lease with a good tenant, and I think you have to have some, it would help to have some proof of payment. But yeah, absolutely.
So the answer to this question, because I borrowed a lot of money, I can tell with complete certainty, especially in the state of Arizona, that if you're in that VRBO, Airbnb, and your income is looking like, a hockey chart where it's all over the place, it's very difficult to verify that income, and lenders will have difficulty giving you a direct amount because that lease is all over the place, right? It's short-term income. But as RC said, if you have a long-term lease intact, a year or more, in banks in Arizona, they at a minimum will give you 70% of the cash flow value of that lease in hand to your income number. So again, if you earn less money, which we want to do as real estate agents because we're self-employed, we don't want to pay Uncle Sam that self-employment tax, but you make a lot more money in the rental space in your Schedule E, you can use that income to qualify you to buy more property. Is that correct, RC?
For sure.
Yep. That's the key to the game, guys. Believe me, I'm no genius, but I'm learning from people like RC that sees tax returns 24/7 and people that are doing this themselves. Did that answer your question, Patrick? And then thirdly, how can they follow you, RC, or how can they get in contact with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is to go follow me on Facebook or Instagram. Just type in my name, RC Thornton II. And if you add me there, send me a message, and any questions you have, I'd be glad to help out with.
And the last thing, guys, if you like this, please hit the like tab. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Culhane page. The amount of value that Brian Culhane, and Christy Culhane are giving you in their downline is exceptional. I've just scratched the surface of a lot of this stuff. And my partners, RC, Ann, Mike, all of these people, Megan, everyone has their own little niche, right? Julie Zander, she's one of the biggest influencers here in Arizona. And Patrick, thank you guys for taking the time. The reason we're doing this is honestly, we want to learn from you. We want you guys to be exceptional leaders and also become wealthier than us so we can learn from you. And if you can disseminate this and push this out to your people, if this was helpful, please share it on Facebook or Instagram, tag us, and we will also tag you so we can push more eyes onto your guys' accounts. I want to give you guys a lot of my followership so you can become authorities in the marketplace. So hopefully this was helpful. Again, if you liked it, please share it. Please follow RC. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. And again, RC, thank you so much for your time, man. This was
Thank you so much, Michael, man. It's been fun as always.
See you guys. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
See you guys.